So, as you know, it's been kind of a crazy week. Pretty much everything is being shut down. Grocery stores are emptied out of a variety of things. Heard stories about lines of people stretching 200 deep, waiting to get into grocery stores. We hear about shelves clearing out of toilet paper as soon as the stores open after being restocked the night before. Something I've really never experienced. I certainly recall growing up in the South. Well, not really in Louisiana, but when I was in Georgia, if there was a storm coming in, ice storm, go buy out all the bread and milk. After living in Minnesota for the last 12 years, that seems kind of silly. But it is certainly unprecedented in many of our time. I think you maybe go back to World War II, thinking about some of the rationing and things that are being talked about and even done. So we have made the decision not to meet Wednesday nights this week, and next week we'll probably have an official announcement going out soon regarding what our plans are. The elders and I have talked, and basically one of the things it boils down to is we would rather feel foolish for overreacting than feel foolish for underreacting in a situation. We don't want to not meet, but made that call that it's best to kind of follow the guidelines of the CDC and our elected officials as we wait and see exactly how things are going to develop. Certainly don't want to be living in a state of fear, but we want to be cautious. There's a lot of wisdom in being cautious. So we're not meeting for our prayer time tonight, and I imagine that depending on how much we have to wait to meet in person, we'll try to maybe facilitate some video prayer time through Zoom or some other video conferencing software or website. But I did want to give a little devotion tonight. I was looking at one verse in particular, and then just kind of looking at what came before it. I thought would be a good thing to share, and I'll put some discussion questions below, so if you want to read through this or show this video as a family and then talk about it, I think that's important. It's important for us to maintain our spiritual lives, maintain our walk of faith, maintain our prayer time, even when we're not meeting together in the normal physical environment. But I wanted to read from the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verses 19 through 25. And I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. Verse 19, it says, "Therefore, my friends, since we have confidence to enter the sanctuary by the blood of Jesus, by the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is, through his flesh. And since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us approach with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who has promised is faithful. And let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." So one thing we see there is talking about having the confidence to enter the sanctuary. You know, we're not meeting physically right now, and a lot of churches are canceling their in-person services. But that's the great thing about the church as opposed to the old system of temples or synagogues or tabernacle, we're not confined to this one space where we can experience the presence of God. Because as the church is kind of a living organism. It's not just a building. It's not just a structure. It's not just a formal service. We are the church. And so we can gather online. I certainly think it's better to gather in person, but if that's not an option, and right now, as we said, we're being cautious, we can still unite and find the presence of God together through other means, or in small groups, or even just our families. But through Jesus' blood, we can enter this sanctuary, this faith, this walk of faith that we have, that is enabled through Jesus. Talks about letting us hold fast with the confession of our hope without wavering. You know, if you've been with us for worship, we've been going through the book of Philippians, and Paul has talked a considerable amount about standing firm and standing up when your enemies oppose you, and even though you're facing suffering, facing adversity, facing people that want to see ill of you. Hebrews also tells us we need to hold fast to the confession of our hope, and we shouldn't waver in that. Our God is bigger than a virus. Our God is bigger than fear mongers. Our God is bigger than those that really don't care what happens one way or another. But we have a faith, we have a hope in a coming kingdom, we have a hope in a coming king that is Jesus. And we need to hold fast in that confession of hope without wavering. Let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds. Some translations use the word spur, but just we want to encourage one another. We want to provoke. Sometimes we think of provoking in a negative sense, like I provoked my brother to hit me, or my brother provoked me to hit him. I got a lot of experience with that with 6 younger brothers. But we want to stimulate each other to love others and to do good deeds. And that's something that we need to really kind of be focusing on. Right now, we might say, well, I don't want to be trapped in the house for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it ends up being. I don't want to practice this social distancing stuff. But we need to take into account what are the benefits, what are the risks of doing that. Hopefully there really aren't any serious risks of going out, but we want to practice an abundance of caution out of our love for one another, especially the elderly in our community or those that are sick, limiting going out, limiting how much time we're spending around other people. Do we want to do that? No. Is it necessary? Maybe. But out of wanting to do love and do good deeds, it's something that we should consider and think of it as a labor of love to put the potential sickness and illness of others ahead of our own desire to want to go out and live life as normal. But as we're kind of stuck in the houses and limited in where we can go, it gives us another opportunity to love our families and to spend time with our families. And to maybe practice some solitude, do some soul searching, do some deep prayer time, do some deep Bible study. I think those are good deeds that we can do for ourselves, and the outpouring of doing those things for ourselves is going to help us to love others more and to want to do good to others more. And not neglecting to meet together is the habit of some, but we want to be able to encourage. One of the biggest things that comes out of our meeting together is just this idea of being able to encourage one another and to be able to share in one another's burdens, to be able to share what's going on in our lives, to share the concerns that we have, either for ourselves or for those that we love. Sometimes we just enjoy it. You know, there's that maybe that selfish element to it. We enjoy meeting together. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there's lots of benefits to that too. And so we don't have to neglect meeting together just because we're not meeting at the church. We can meet online in maybe larger numbers or in smaller numbers. Maybe we are only chatting or texting. You can use your phone and call and check on and others and to share prayer concerns and to pray for them. You can use that time to encourage. We're going to be posting videos, hopefully, depending on how long we are unable to meet together, just to try to help encourage and to give a presentation of the Word for you to think about and maybe talk about amongst your families or small groups if that's a good option in your current setting. And hopefully we will be able to meet together soon and go on with business as normal. But even if we're not able to, that doesn't mean that we can't meet together in other ways, that we can't use the technology that is at our disposal to encourage one another. So hopefully everybody that is on the Pine Grove Facebook page got a chance to watch this, and I do want to strongly encourage you with your families or in any kind of small group setting. Do some devotions, have your own separate prayer time, and just continue to walk the walk of faith. Don't take this as a time of, I've got a couple of days off from church this week, so I don't really have to think about my faith or practice my faith. We're in this uncertain time, so all the more reason to pray that God would provide clarity, that He would provide wisdom, and that He would provide an answer to the questions that many people have. We'll talk to you soon.